Thank you, Mr. President. I rise this afternoon to talk about the Russia questions that are on the minds of so many Americans. We had, I think, in the midst of all of the debate and controversy and genuine concern across the country, some good news yesterday when it was announced that the Deputy Attorney General, Mr. Rosenstein, had made the decision to appoint a special counsel, and in this case, former FBI Director Mueller, and that was good news. Number one, that there was a special counsel that could undertake a review of these questions in an independent fashion, but I think people across, not just Washington, but I think even across the country, were heartened by the fact that it was someone of the caliber and the experience and the dedicated law enforcement commitment that Director Mueller demonstrated in his years with the FBI as director, as a prosecutor. And so that was good news. And we're grateful for that. And I know we'll have a chance in just a little while to talk to the Deputy Attorney General about these issues. But I think we have to examine a couple more questions that arise. And Mr. President, I would ask to submit for the record it's about a 3-page timeline of some of the events that led up to today, and ask consent to make that part of the record.
Without objection.
Thank you. But I think there are some serious questions, even with the special counsel who has been named, even with 2 intelligence committees reviewing these matters. I would hope, in addition to those reviews that are being undertaken, those investigations, that we also have an independent commission to get all of the answers that we need so we can ensure the American people that this will never happen again, that no foreign government, in this case a foreign adversary, can interfere in an election at any time in our future. So that guarantee will not be ironclad unless we know exactly what happened, why it happened, and then take a series of steps to prevent it from happening. We should be very clear with the Russian Federation that if they do this again, they will be sanctioned, and there will be a consequence in response to their actions. But we won't be able to do any of that unless we can find the answers. So here's a couple of basic questions I think are part of I hope would be part of the deliberations, not just of the 2 committees or other committees that might review this, but also the deliberations and work of the special counsel and his team. First question is, why does the President believe that the Russian election interference investigation is baseless, which is contrary to the unanimous finding of 17 agencies, U.S. intelligence agencies? These agencies issued a, quote, high confidence, unquote, a high confidence assessment of that determination that they made. So that's a technical term in the intelligence circles that they don't use lightly. Based upon the findings of those 17 intelligence agencies, and that finding being high confidence, why does the President continue to question or even undermine that determination? Another question is, why did Attorney General Sessions, who had to recuse himself from the Russia investigation, weigh in on the firing of the FBI director responsible for that very investigation? That is a question I think a number of people are asking. Next question, number 3, is, can the Justice Department's political leaders, I mean individuals who've just come in with this administration, can those officials in the Justice Department be trusted not to interfere in the ongoing FBI investigation? That's a question. Fourth, why immediately after firing Director Comey and amid the uproar about interference in the Russian investigation that it created, why did the president convene a private meeting with the Russian foreign minister and the Russian ambassador in the Oval Office and allow the Russian state media, the Soviet-era state media entity, to cover that meeting while keeping out the U.S. Media? I think that's a question that a lot of people have. Question number 5, why did he reveal highly classified, he meaning President Trump, why did he reveal highly classified information to the Russian Federation, according to the reporting by the Washington Post and others, during this meeting with the Russian foreign minister, the Russian ambassador, and what are the implications of that disclosure? I think that's something that we need to have answers to. So at least these 5 questions, you could add many more, I believe are critically important questions. But in some respects, there are even more urgent questions in front of us, and I'll focus a little bit on those today. Basically 3, I guess. Number 1, did the president intentionally interfere with the ongoing FBI investigation into his associates, people that were on his campaign or on the campaign and working in the government now? And that seems, the interference question seems more likely than not based upon the reporting, but we have to know for sure, one way or the other, did the president intentionally interfere with an ongoing FBI investigation? Second question is, are any such efforts to interfere ongoing? So if the answer to the first question is yes, we don't know for certain if it is yes, but if it is yes, if there was intentional interference with the investigation by the president, the second question would be, are there any such efforts to interfere that are ongoing? Third, do they extend, meaning this potential alleged interference, does this interference extend past the FBI inquiry to the investigations in the Senate and the House of Representatives? That's, I think, a question that's rather urgent as well. Will this attempt to interfere or alleged attempt to interfere, will that carry over into other investigations? Because really, in essence, now we have 3 inquiries. One is the House Intelligence Committee, the other is the Senate Intel Committee, and the third, of course, would be Special Counsel Mueller's investigation. All critically important. I would hope we get at a fourth to that, which would be an independent commission like the 9/11 Commission, where we came to definitive conclusions with regard to what happened on 9/11, and then added to those conclusions a series of recommendations so that we could prevent another 9/11. The same could be said here, that we want to make sure we get answers to these questions, have conclusions made, have accountability with regard to those conclusions, but then have a series of recommendations about how to prevent Russian interference or the interference of any foreign adversary in our election ever again. Now, Director Comey himself warned about the danger of undue influence on FBI investigations in an exchange during a May 3rd Senate Judiciary Committee hearing. In this case, it was Senator Hirono, a Democratic senator from Hawaii, who asked if the Attorney General or senior Justice Department officials had ever ordered the FBI to halt an investigation. Interestingly, here's what Director Comey replied. Director Comey replying to that question, quote, "Not in my experience," meaning not in his experience does he know of an instance where the Justice Department officials interfered with an FBI investigation. I'll read it again. Quote, "Not in my experience," he said, "because it would be a big deal to tell the FBI to stop doing something. And then he continues on, and it picks up, without an appropriate purpose. A situation where we are told to stop something for a political reason, that would be a very big deal. It's not happened in my experience, unquote. So that's the now former FBI director saying that there's no precedence for the idea that the Justice Department would ask the FBI to take an action which would be interference. Director Comey was talking about the Department of Justice in this case, actions by the Department of Justice to interfere with an FBI investigation. In retrospect, perhaps a better question would have been whether the political interference he thought would be a, quote, very big deal, unquote, might have been coming directly from the Oval Office. It's essential that we get to the bottom of this, a number of these questions. At issue here is the importance, I should say an issue of this importance, requires that the full investigative power of the federal government be brought to bear. The House and Senate Intel committees are doing their investigation, as I said. The FBI investigation continues as well, despite concerns about independence in the wake of Director Comey's firing. I hope and I expect that the next FBI director will be someone who will be as independent, as capable, and as committed as Director Mueller as the new special counsel. We know there are dedicated professionals running these investigations. It's long been my belief that these extraordinary circumstances demand even more. I've been repeating for some time that we need a greater level of independence to insulate this critically important investigation from any suspicion of partisan interference. So that's why I've been calling for many weeks now, since early March, for a special counsel. I'm glad that the Justice Department now agrees with me. So, Mr. President, suffice it to say we have a lot more work to do. Ultimately, this will be the work of everyone here, even if you're not a member of the Intel committees or any other committee that is doing work that is directly relevant to this, because ultimately the Congress has to take actions to get to the bottom of these questions, but also to be part of the process, at least, of imposing accountability, and also, especially, the Congress is going to have to play a major role, the leading role, in making sure that we put in place policies and procedures and laws that prevent this from ever happening again. And I hope the administration will join us in taking every step necessary to get to the bottom of these questions and to insist and to ensure that this never, ever happens again to any American election. That's not just a goal, that has to be a guarantee as a result of this process. And if the administration is not committed to that, I'm not sure what they are committed to. To take lightly or to ignore a problem that is this grave and this serious to undermine our democracy is, I think, to put at risk the very foundation of our nation as a nation of laws and not of men, a nation that's committed to the rule of law. And with that, Mr. President, I would yield the floor and note the absence of a quorum.